Aloha Aina, and welcome to Voices of Truth, one-on-one with Hawaii's future, brought to you by the Koani Foundation. I'm Ehuke Kahu Cardwell, and here we are today at Thomas Square in Honolulu for Kala Ho'ihoiea 2006. And boy, you're in for a real treat today. We have somebody on the show we've long wanted to have, and he's right here with us, none other than Liko Martin. Liko, aloha. So good to have you on the show. Thanks for being with us. Come on over this way, stand a little bit this way. So we're at the right angle.
Okay.
And we wanted to have you on here because you are such an accomplished individual in so many areas of life. Musician, political activist, songwriter, singer, poet, man of wisdom, strong mana, strong mana'o. And it's just great to have you be with us and share some of yourself today. So I know we want to get right into the thing that's most important to you, and that's your music. Tell us how you got into music. What made you get into music I presume you've been in it from a very young person, yes?
Yeah, music was in my family. And my family has been involved in the public servants to Hawaii. My grandfather, Ernest Nalanihin. And so music was always a way of, when you couldn't speak the language, the mana was passed through song.
Yeah.
You know, in my kupuna's time, when you couldn't speak English and all those years.
You speak Hawaiian?
We couldn't speak Hawaiian,
yeah.
You know. And so the music has always been around me. And inspiration for music, I think my mentor was Kui Lee. Kui was just getting out of the service, you know, Vietnam War was starting. Kui had returned to Hawaii. And I took my vow one day, the day of Kui's funeral, when they're Waikiki, where I grew up on the slopes of Diamond Head, and the canoe was going out. I went up on top of the mountain and I just asked that if someone else could be that channel to do what stand where Kui had been, that I wanted to do that. Wow. And it's been ever since then, when the door knocks, I just open myself up and I just paint the picture in the song, and then I go back to doing whatever I'm doing.
Is that right?
You know, and that's the song. The song is like catching a wave. If you try to think about too far down the road, you're going to forget where you're at, like a lot of things. And so I just catch the wave and take it, you know, turn by turn. And in the end, I individually learn so much in my own experience and then in the collective. Getting into the collective subconscious is really, I think, where I've gone in the music, where I've been told to go. And because of that, songs like All Hawaii Stand Together,
yes,
and came about, you know, not from the mind, but from the heart.
From the heart, yes.
And not knowing all the details, but many years, 30 years ago, the nation, you know, the nation and the country is one. So this is what songwriting has been to me, not only for Hawaii, but for all people, wherever I've lived in the streets. You know, I'm a street person off of LA. My last family, I raised them for 15 years. We lived in our van. Came home for the last maybe 5 years of that, which was almost a foretelling what was going to happen in Hawaii.
Yeah.
With the so-called homeless and the houseless. But again, the music, sharing with everyone. I've been on the mainland recording many songs that to me is the gift of Hawaii, so that the people of the Americas, from wherever they've come from, can know inside of them that they have the aloha, and that don't be afraid to open it up if there's goodness, and to bring attention to the ideas of the environment, and looking to the host culture.
Yeah.
You know, I've been up in Four Corners. I was just in Oakland the other day, a couple of weeks ago, and sitting on the stairs in front of my studio, and these Afro-American ladies came by and told me, well, there's free food right around the block if you're hungry. So it doesn't matter, you know, if the world is getting smaller, faster.
Yes.
And but anyway, the music is just a real special place that I'm called to go to. When it calls me,
Yeah.
we're there.
Yeah, that's great.
You know?
That's great. You know, you're one of the most giving people I've ever met. And I observe that probably the largest way, the biggest way that you give is through your music. It really is. I mean, you share your music everywhere with anyone.
Yeah.
And it's really phenomenal.
Yeah.
So,
Looking for singers too. I've got so many songs. No, really, I was up in the mainland, and all of a sudden I'm just singing all these songs, and I guess some maybe belong to me.
yeah.
You know, I'll carry them, I will sing them. And then there are other songs, and there are other people who, if people want songs, maybe there's something. You know, it's kind of like a Cinderella story. If I put it in the computer, so for you young, you know, the upcoming artists or people, please feel free to call upon me for.
Okay.
I love to be asked to write songs about things, and you know, just kind of like that.
Great. So, folks, you heard it here first. This
Yeah.
is a free classified ad for Liko Martin.
Right.
We'll give your contact information out at the end of the show so people
Okay.
can get a hold of you if you
Sure,
want.
sure.
So, Liko, what I'm hearing you say is that a song kind of like inhabits you like an idea and it comes to you at the moment of inspiration. Is that accurate or not?
Yeah, it just comes. Like I said, sometimes people will ask me. I'll see the need to write
Yeah.
a song, and it's painting a picture in the song.
Mm-hmm.
And some of them, again, very personal, all personal, because it's the different levels of consciousness that I've learned to craft. Whereas, like your verses, you tell the story of me, and in the chorus, you tell the story of us.
Ah.
And in the bridge, you make the transition between the individual and the collective, as an
Interesting.
example.
Wow.
See, so a lot of people say, "Oh, that's a hit song." Well, of course,
Because it has all those elements.
it has all those elements. It's already in the collective subconsciousness.
Wow.
So,
Wow.
you know,
So that's how you do it.
well, that's how it happens.
That's how it happens. Yeah.
You know, I'm just a part of it.
So you're kind of like the conveyor, or the thing that it comes through. Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
very
Yeah.
much.
Yeah. That's amazing. That's fascinating. So what that means is you have to keep yourself open.
Right.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And so these ideas can come to
Right.
you.
And
Yeah.
you know, the wonderful thing about music writing, being away in the mainland, I actually went into Hollywood. I started to get involved with writers for publishing companies, and found that there was a certain talent that I had for like a songwriter.
Yes.
You know, you
Yes.
call the mechanic who really knows about the thing, and I
Yeah.
found myself getting involved that way, and it was really wonderful. And when I returned to Hawaii, I found myself using this craft for what I call writing love letters.
Ah.
Love letters that explain Hawaii's history, that take assisting people who have issues, or there's a crisis and someone needs to write a letter to the Secretary General, or write letters to portray a situation. And that's how my songwriting has really taken another form. You know, because they come out like a song, whether it's board papers, whether it's something. And it's really a wonderful thing that has happened to me.
Isn't that fascinating?
Yeah.
So what you're really doing is writing love letters, and they come out as a song.
Yeah.
That's great. That's
Yeah.
wonderful.
Yeah.
That's wonderful. So what you mentioned Hollywood, the fact that you went to Hollywood, what was that like compared to writing songs here in Hawaii?
Well, when I was on the mainland, it wasn't a place where I would perform.
Yeah.
Okay, and the times that I went up, they had the things happening down in Guatemala. South America was going off. It was not like I'm comfortable here at home being recognized as an activist or, you know, an advocate for certain things. In the mainland, it was a little different. I was more low profile, but living amongst the people. You know, even in Hollywood, being the gardener for people like Jerry Moss. You know, and he come home at night and I'd be in the garden and just touching base with the real people, and hoping that someday, you know, that this association could help Hawaii, as Hawaii, the spirit of Hawaii wants to give that aloha, the understanding, you know, and how people may, the spirit of Hawaii may help the people. And it may be the people in Hollywood, who are involved with Hollywood, meaning the media, like with you.
Yeah.
You know, how do you get the stories out? What story? How do you tell this story?
Yes.
And this is what I'm starting to now divest myself of, you know, all the little papers and the meetings and things like that, because I realized that where I've been on all these songs that have been collected, they are going to tell the story of where I was, around whom I was, and what was the story. And I don't have to make it up, the story's already written.
Yeah. So it's kind of like a musical photo album,
yes,
if you will.
Exactly.
Wow, that's amazing.
I've embarked on a project of creating an opera.
Really?
Out of the songs, I was on Kauai one day doing the dishes, and this really beautiful melody came to me. And along with it came the instructions: make an opera, Liko.
Wow.
Do the opera, tell the story, have this story told like this. So I'm actually in an advanced stage of that now. And of course this will incorporate, you know, the glories, the hopes, the dreams, and the tragedies that we all go through in our lives. You know, like the hokulea, the glory of the hokulea and the tragedy. The glory of Kaho'olawe and the tragedy. The glory and the hopes and dreams of our sovereignty movement and the tragedies. Okay, this is what, and this is what I'm inspired to do.
That's fantastic. That's very inspirational for me, just listening to it. So you have to be a really great listener, don't you?
Yes.
You have to listen a lot.
You have to listen a lot
for it to come through, and you have to be. I couldn't think of the word before, but I thought of it while being a vessel, being willing to be a carrier for this thing that comes into you and nurture it, and actually give it life out in the physical world, taking it from the non-physical world to the physical world. And that's what you've given your word to do. Yeah. So do you get inspiration from Kui Lee still?
Oh yes.
Yeah.
In fact, I was just on the mainland recording, and the great musicians from the Bay Area came on, and I went up there and I just laid all these songs down, almost about 30 songs or so, in 10 days. But when I got there, I had no idea. As an example.
Wait a minute. You wrote 30 songs?
Well, these were songs already written.
Oh, okay.
And they were written. But when I got there, you know, because we're all going to work and we're doing this and that. So I got there, my friend says, listen, come, we want to have a record of your songs. So when I got there, I said, well, what's the theme here? You know, what's the theme? And had written a song called The Endangered Species, as an example. So that was the theme. Endangered Species, On Safari to America, and The Restoration, a trilogy story. And so, just no problem. Bang, there's the list. Laid down these songs in just me and my guitar. Of course, I used the click track so that just in the event, made sure my guitar was tuned.
Yes.
And so that in the event that other musicians could come unto them. And then I came back home, and my friend, Richard Moon, who's one of my soul brothers, he went and collected musicians from the Bay Area. And upon my return, it was just the most wonderful thing to see these songs, to hear these songs with a four-piece band, people who love the songs. They love them. These musicians put their heart. The first violinist from the San Francisco Symphony Orchestra is playing on it.
Wow.
And these are songs of the land, of the people, not just the people here. The endangered species is
Everywhere.
That's everything.
Everywhere, yeah.
That's everything.
Yeah.
And so this is what has happened. But I thought about Kui because Kui had been such an inspiration to me in the type of instrumentation that can be brought and the level that a song can be presented, so that coming into Hawaii, that it would renew that awareness and the mental freedom to go. Well, what about the symphony? Maybe,
Yeah.
of course, string quartet. Oh, that'd be wonderful. That this would all of a sudden allow the other artists, people to go, yeah, no limitations, you know.
Yeah.
So that it enhances that sound vibration and makes that story without distorting it, without mutilating the true story. Because sometimes we go back and forth and say, well, it's pure Liko. I mean, how can it get any better, right? My friend tells me, how can it get any better? I say, well, yeah, but sometimes the instrumentation, and this is another thing that I've come to realize, is that there's a song called Islands Under the Sun. And I started writing it when I was standing on the corner of Seattle, getting ready to go to the airport to catch a plane to go to LA about 10 years ago. And it was kind of a reggae song. Doom, doom. And when we went in to record it in the studio, this classical pianist came. And then this steel guitar player who plays with Neil Young came in. And all of a sudden, what I'm hearing and what I'm feeling is the combining of the world of country music,
Wow.
the world of classical music,
Wow.
the heart of reggae,
Wow.
all in one. They call it a crossover. But it truly, it just like, and you'll hear it maybe sometime. It's going to be, released in spite of myself.
Yeah. Well, this is one thing I wanted to ask you was, when is your opera coming out, and when is the stuff you just did in the Bay Area we're going to be coming out so we can hear it? Because, Islands in the Sun is one of my favorite songs. I love that song.
Well, this is another one. We Are an Island Under the Sun is the name of it.
Wow.
And I would say, this year.
Good.
This year, I'm going actually to do some final mixing.
Yeah.
And like I said, in spite of myself, sometimes, you just have to let things go, turn it over to the right people, run it and distribute it. You have business and things like that.
Yeah, sure.
And the opera, that's at the top of my book now.
Good.
And just, again, when the idea came to me, I said, well, okay, I've never done an opera before, and the voice is talking to me, and I said, well, where do I start? I said, well, just list all the songs down. So I go back, and here I'm sitting at like 60 songs. I'm going, okay, now what do I do? Well, find all the morning songs, find all the lunchtime songs, and find all the nighttime songs. And so I started to do that. Then all of a sudden, the flower began to bloom.
Wow.
And it was very obvious where this song went and where this song went. And then the whole story started to, and then I was crafting and in my mind, I'd been around some of the opera and stuff like that, and you'd have, huge set designs, and I've got all these drawings and things, and it's actually boiled down to the most fundamental, to me, the fundamental components of life: the fireplace, the picnic table, and the park bench. And around that, no matter where I have been, whether it was in Washington, D.C., Alaska, L.A., Waianae, Kau, Kauai, the fireplace, the picnic table, and the park bench.
Wow.
So this is, so now it's a matter of getting it to as simple a form as possible. 10 songs maybe is too much. You can't overdo. What I'm realizing, sensing is, an hour of the history of perhaps, say, Kohaolave is like you come out of there and you're just going to be like, oh my God.
Overwhelmed.
So one or two songs,
Yeah.
trying to streamline it so that it's just encompassing, it's inspiring, it's uplifting, it hits to the heart of what we're really trying to say. Instead of, all of a sudden I'm reading a manual, I'm reading a novel, songs, and this is where I must, fine tune my senses so that it'll make the greatest impact with the least amount of energy from the listening standpoint and from the performance standpoint.
Wow. Liko, that's fantastic. You've kind of given us a cross-section of your creative process, which is phenomenal. I want to ask you about one specific song, All Hawaii Stand Together, Hawaii Loa Kulike Kako. Did somebody ask you to write that? Did that just come to you? How did that one come about? Because it's such a signature song,
Well, that song I was actually requested in a very I grew up around Iolani Palace. I grew up in the heart of Hawaiian politics and not really having any uncles who teach me how to throw net. I didn't really know what a taro patch was. And then all of a sudden, after Kaho'olawe, I went back into the ancient world. I found myself in Honaunau one morning getting up, and there was the Hokulea. At those dams, I wore a malo and sailed on the Hokulea for 2 months with Auntie Clara and got to know what it feels, not necessarily to look forward, but to look backward and know where you're going.
Yes. Yes.
And then I found myself in Honolulu, again in my place where I grew up. And Don Ho, who I had first met when I was 21 years old, I sang on his stage.
Is that right?
Yeah, well, everybody goes there. If it's your birthday, you got to go out there and sing a song. Well, anyway, Don was very gracious and concerned about Kaho'olawe, the Hawaiian issues, and for many years his door was open to me. His kitchen, his bed, whatever I needed, And then all of a sudden I felt this calling for me to return, to go back to Honaunau. And I mentioned that to Don that I think it was time for me to go back. And he asked me one afternoon, he says, well, leave us something. Leave us a song, About 4 hours later, All Hawaii Stand Together was written.
Wow.
And I went down and I gave him the song, and he was the first person to record it.
Wow.
He actually recorded it. And shortly thereafter, I met Kupuna Pilaipaki in the office of Koipuna Gail Pugine at that time, right on King Street. We were the hell, raising hell, making fires and everything. And actually, were instrumental in revealing the history of 1893. The events of 1893. Koipuna had left he was involved with the tour industry and stuff, had gotten a grant from the Ford Foundation, had brought together the researchers, sent them out, and compiled a great document that was then opened up on the grounds of Iolani Palace. And from that time, that's why in the modern time, I think that's when the modern day sovereignty movement began, with the full awareness of the events of 1893, and everything. And then Auntie Pilahi came into the office and translated All Hawaii Stand Together into Hawaii Loa Kulike Kako. That there's going to be a release of this song sung in the Kanaka Olelo, not by me though. I was up on Kauai about 3 years ago and had recorded the tracks because I knew that no one had ever recorded the Kanaka Olelo versions. So here I laid the tracks down, but all of a sudden I wasn't hearing myself sing it. I was hearing a person who I had met, who was born and raised on the island of Niihau, singing it.
Wow.
So I took my ukana and I went down to Salt Pond, and I sat next to Manateale. It's his Mokeales and the nephews. Speaks fluent Hawaiian. Was one of the first from Niihau to graduate from the Kamehameha schools. Actually, Brother Is and he was the one who really got Brother Is going with the instruments and everything.
Yeah.
So I went down to Salt Pond, sat down, and told Mana, just sing this song. I said, now look at the words. Whatever you have to do, you change the T to K or whatever you have to do, so that imagine if you were back on Niihau, that you could sing it respectfully to your ohana. So he changed a little this and a little that. And when he sang it, I knew that I had completed a part of my mission.
Wow.
That the rainbow had gone here, and when that rainbow landed, it was mana.
Wow.
And that is going to be recorded, be released on these recordings that I will be going to back to the mainland to master. And it just made me so happy, because in this case, Mana, he's fluent in the language. You know, when he's singing the words, when I heard him sing it, I said, now that's how it should be sung. Because that understanding of that word is embedded in his whole heart and his soul and everything.
Yes.
And so this, something to look forward to.
That's great.
And some of the other artists, some of the other singers from Kauai who I had been around, nobody's going to go to them, I want to make a recording contract with you. Uncle Herman Kane, he's going to be on the CD. Kamala, Mara Jumbo, Wendell Fu from Hanalei, and they're going to be singing the original songs, and they're very beautiful. I could listen to them all day. Listen to myself, well, maybe not.
Yeah.
But when I listen to them sing it, that's the heart and soul of Hawaii.
Yes. Liko, we got about a minute left.
Okay.
I want you to have an opportunity to give some contact information out, so some of those viewers who are watching today, if they want to get a hold of you, you mentioned before earlier in the program about singers. How can people get a hold of you?
Well, Post Office Box 564, Anahola, 96703.
Say it one more time.
Post Office Box 564, Anahola, Kauai, 96703.
And we both know that Anahola is the center of the universe.
Anahola is
It's the best. It's the best. All right, Liko, mahalo so much for being on the show. You know, I've been getting chicken skin just standing here listening to you. It's been phenomenal. Mahalo piha. Thank you so much for being on the show.
Mahalo to you.
Yeah.
Aloha.
This has been Voices of Truth, one-on-one with Hawaii's Future, brought to you by the Kiwane Foundation. I'm Ehuke Kahu Cardwell. Until next time, ahui ho.